Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Talking Point. It is Friday, 2nd of September. Of course, as my compatriot said, this is the final third of the year. Ironically, of course, we are ramping up, I guess you could say, to school reopening. So, folks, enjoy the lack of traffic while it might last. I'm not sure, but I think this might be the last day or the second to last week. I'm sure Keaton will correct me. But of course, yes, we're via Zoom, but I'm not alone. My co-host with the most is here, Mr. Keaton Shaw, and you were busy yesterday evening on something rather unfortunate, were you not?
Hi, good morning, Sean. And yes, actually, school is due to reopen on Monday, so today is actually the last day to enjoy.
The last day.
No traffic at all, because even from tomorrow, you're gonna get a lot of traffic. Be it the last weekend before school reopens. So good luck to all commuters out there. But yes, actually I was a bit busy. As with what is becoming something of a norm now, I suppose. Even saying that it's a norm is making myself sound redundant just because of what we're accustomed to. But I was at this scene of a murder last night, a homicide last night. So I would have witnessed everything from the time that the police arrived at the scene till the time that the body was taken up and CSI removed the caution tape and everybody was able to go back on, which was in fact about 5 hours later. So from the time the incident happened until CSI gave clearance for everybody to go about their business was 5 hours had passed. But Sean, there's so many things that I learned last night. There's so many things that I learned last night. And a couple of things, even though we have an opinion that trainees are becoming desensitized or accustomed to these killings happening, I think we're far from the truth, because the people who you would expect to put up a brave face or a brave position over killings and over deaths, they were the ones that were expressing the desire to actually leave Trinidad the most. And I think this is something that often journalists don't cover when reporting on murders and homicides.
I mean, it's an interesting point because I think the desensitization, there's two different stages to that. You see, it's easy to be desensitized to COVID when, well, nobody around you dies from COVID. It's easy to think about a war in some distant land. You know, and enough people are old enough. Ukraine is not the first war necessarily. There have been others where a lot of people have been killed. And for us in TNT, it doesn't seem to really affect us. So we don't really worry about it. Now, the local murder rate, when it ramped up, it was a concern until it wasn't a concern. Except when it actually happens directly to somebody you know, someone within your personal circle. And then now it crosses that next threshold. Because I think for the country, the concept of our national criminality and safety, we are desensitized. But there's still that next level of, how do I put it? You take it for granted. It's not going to happen to me. You know, it happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. It's a fallacy that human beings just naturally undertake for whatever reason, where they don't necessarily feel it personally. And unfortunately, when they do, or when we do, you know, all too often it takes us by surprise and we don't know how to react. And that's why it compounds the devastation that, like the people that you probably witnessed felt. I think local criminals who have resigned themselves to their fate, those are the ones who are truly and completely desensitized when they and all don't really give pause to the thought of their own end. But for the rest of us, we still have that room, that space to overcome.
I think also too, Sean, that point that you made when it was something of concern and then it became of no concern. A couple of weeks ago, every Monday morning on Talking Point, we had to report about murders in the double figures actually occurring from Friday night straight up until the early hours of Monday morning. And even though there are multiple murders still taking place on a daily basis, because I'll inform you, the officers, informing that they actually, some of them just left a murder scene prior to arriving to the one that I was at. Yeah, and even their expression was another one again. That was the expression of the police officers. You think that they are getting accustomed to it, and seems quite the opposite. But as you mentioned, it was a problem until it wasn't a problem, and it's because so many things have been happening. We've had the Independence Day parades, of which everybody was hyped up about. Now we have this situation with the spotlight on the economy that's taking place from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. today. And then you have the budget statement coming up. You have Republic Day coming up. Between Republic Day and Diwali, you're going to have the budget statement being read. And then after Diwali, you have Tobago Carnival. So all of this is taking place within this time frame, and it's created a vacuum in which the murder rate will continue to climb. Nothing will be done about it. And I think every day we're just going to be reporting on instances like these because there's nothing more that we can do.
I mean, it's interesting that you bring up the economy. I don't know if now's the time to segue, but there was an article in one of the local papers a couple of days ago for Independence, basically critiquing what our economy, how it's been going since independence, right? And even before, because the development, and I think it's something that we've spoken about before, but we've had 60 years. Have we really been all that we could be, done all that we could do, seen our nation grow and prosper all that it can? And I do wonder if, similar to how we're desensitized in a way to the crime reporting, right? Those who are still victims, whose family members die, we still feel it when that happens. But just like the crime reporting and the statistics and the big picture, we kind of desensitized to that. The murder rate could go to 600. I'm not too sure if that will cause people to panic. With our economy, I do wonder, with the exception of those, and we spoke to the Reverend yesterday with regards to the fact that there are people who never thought that they would be basically on the breadline while still working. They have a job. And they still need to ask for help just to feed themselves and their family. I do wonder, with the exception of those who find themselves in the middle of it, we are desensitized to the way how our economy runs. The cynical, well, it is what it is, and we don't seem to really know or want to try to do something better, because we've more or less been along the same path for the last, 20, 30, 40 years, The article says from the 1980s, that's when things actually started to slow down. And with some exceptions, when revenue was high, we didn't necessarily see investment and development, and we didn't really see strides forward. I mean, look how long it took to do new overpasses on the highway, on the East-West Highway. The one outside of Port of Spain there by NP, I met that there. I don't think I was alive when that was under construction. So that's and the reason I pointed out is the length of time in between road works, major road projects, was, to me, I thought that was a bad indicator, where it seemed as though we can't put proper infrastructure projects to develop. We just do short-term things, transfer and subsidies, let more PH taxis go on the road. Who cares about traffic? Who cares about crime? Who cares about pothole? Happy 60th pothole independence.
Well, Sean, ask yourself something. Why is it that politicians want to be in power? Why is it they want to be in government? Off of everything that you said, though I can point out the flaws of people of Trinidad and Tobago, because I love Trinidad and Tobago, but some of the people just frustrate you. Everything that you pointed out you can analyze a couple things. One, you've got a lazy mentality of those in authority, of those in office. Before I continue, I say that and it clicked in my mind. Let me see, because I don't think many of us are actually ever at the scene of a homicide to witness exactly what takes place. But kudos to all the officers who were there last night and did their job, and kudos to the entire team. I say kudos in this situation, which is quite ironic, but nevertheless, the officers did their part. They played their role, and we hope that they actually solve what took place. But anyway, yes, we have a lazy mentality, with no critical or constructive thinking whatsoever, and individuals seem to want to enter office because of that thought of power, that thought of influence, which fuels their ego, and then they receive a salary for doing such. Put it this way, why is it Camille Robinson Regis has to stay within the walls of Parliament for the last over 25 years? She's been a part of Parliament. Why does Kamala Pasabi have to remain there? Why does Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley have to remain there? When you can make the argument that they've not really contributed anything to Trinidad and Tobago's development. People might disagree with me, but let's face it, at the end of the day, even if you want to say the People's Partnership, there's so much development taking place in so many rural areas. At what cost? At what cost to Trinidad and Tobago? The other aspect of it is that it's simple. When it comes to politicians in Trinidad and Tobago, there's also this, I don't know. At the end of the day, we will come, we will talk, we can try and spin things. It's going to work in our favor because people, I think they fail to listen. I think people fail to understand. I think people fail to realize. So what has happened, there hasn't been any governance. There's been a lack of leadership, and there's been complete mismanagement. And every time a situation arises, it's subdued. That is what takes place. They find a way to subdue it because we never solve anything here in TNT. And very finally, I had a conversation with a senior yesterday, and we had a very, very good debate. And we're both of the opinion that Trinidad and Tobago, to its full extent, obviously hasn't achieved its potential, but we also haven't gained full independence. If you think about it, we have no independence over food security or our food situation here in Trinidad and Tobago. We've basically, more or less, we've sold our pitch lake. We have no independence over what could be one of our biggest economic factors right now, coming out of oil and gas. I'm talking about revenues. We aren't able to even manage our oil and gas industry properly. We're not able to even maintain it. So to what extent has Trinidad and Tobago really gained independence? Because flying the flag high and celebrating in 60 years, while still living in a situation which I guess you could say there are a lot of positives, but you actually have to study and look for the positives before you actually realize they exist.
I think one of the unfortunate things is a lecturer of mine told me, at least in her opinion, you go on any oil rig around the world, you'll find at least one Trini. And it goes to show the individual skills and the endeavors of the individual Trinbagonian on a private level. Now the question is, societally, and unfortunately, in a country that employs so much of its population, I can't remember what the figure is nationally. I know the figure in Tobago is anywhere from 60 to 80% was employed by the THA. I'm not entirely sure what it is right now. Maybe now it's closer to 60. Before, a lot of people would say 80. But centrally, the government of TNT was one of the biggest employers. And you can't tax. You can't pay those salaries off of the taxes people pay from those salaries, right? That's just not how it's worked. That's just not viable. And I do wonder if we've allowed politicians to be too focused on winning elections, short-term gain, Not a lot of long-term thinking. Because look at all of the legacy projects of the last 4 prime ministers, right? We have the Piarco Airport, I believe, done under the Basdio Pandey administration. Maybe I'm wrong with the timing, correct me on that. That has its own controversy and court matters that are still ongoing, I believe. Then we had Prime Minister Manning and the waterfront. That had its controversy with regards to how he was operating. Unilaterally, it seemed there were allegations of corruption against HCL and Cola Heart, etc. But then also there was the Cuba Hospital for children, except half the hospital weren't for children. And I don't think our infrastructure could have supported it. And now we have the aborted Sandals project and the new airports to service 3 million tourists when we probably don't even have 100,000 tourists, actual tourists, not the diaspora coming home for Carnival. And that would be to Trinidad. Tobago Carnival has yet to prove itself on what kind of numbers that will bring in.
I'll tell you what, Sean, let's continue this conversation in a moment or two. Sorry to cut you, but we have to take a commercial break. But we're gonna... All
right. Let me cool down. When we come back, I'll finish off.
No.
I'll continue.
It's an important subject, and you haven't been here for 2 weeks, so you deserve all the time. So we'll be right back after this, folks.
Happy Independence from Motor Care and Maintenance MCM Limited for all your vehicle repairs, diesel and gas. Approved vehicle inspection station. Celebrate and enjoy life in your fully electric and hybrid Mini. Happy Independence TNT from LaFast Motors.
Nuance Security and Solar Systems Limited, ensuring value with renewable energy solutions for all.
We celebrate with TNT, Medical Associates Private Hospital, offering cutting-edge technology for all our customers' health issues. You can become a highly trained emergency response professional that can operate in the health, corporate, industrial, and educational sectors. Tech EMS courses include EMT, AEMT, paramedic, BLS, ACLS, PALS, First Aid, CPR, AED, and other courses. Register early for September 2022.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzoneTT.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
What's your choice? Choice Optical. That's my choice.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
as the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
Register early for September 2022. The Guide family has been serving TNT for over 70 years. From the management and staff of JE Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium, Happy Independence. Independence greetings from J&A Supermarket and Deli on the Avenue. For your grocery items, market items, grab-and-go meals, plus mobile phones and accessories.
Rise to the occasion with Cocky Lucky, exclusively sold at the Big Mike Wellness Center.
Number 19 Market Street in Aruka. Contact 346-26 or 338-7775.
Christmas is coming. The Retail Warehouse Christmas Village is back with great deals. So check us in-store or online today. When you need land, a home, or investment property, step-by-step property consultancy and management can help you. Happy Independence!
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN. Well, I'm Keaton Shaw with Shaw Michael Small. We're virtual this morning for two completely different reasons as my co-host and colleague continues on his recovery. And I guess put it this way, in the shoes of a journalist, anything can happen at any point in time. And it's all part of the job and all part of the job description. But as we continue the conversation this morning, my co-host was mentioning that one of his lecturers mentioned to him, my co-host was mentioning that one of his lecturers mentioned to him that if you go to an oil rig anywhere around the world, you will find at least one Trini. And that's the thing, you know, individual citizens, individual Trinidadians, who may not even actually want to have anything to do with Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine now any and everybody saying that they can't wait to leave Trinidad and Tobago, they want to leave by any means necessary. Well, they make an impact. They're really the positive, shining lights of Trinidad and Tobago as well. But a Trinidadian, a Trinbagonian can actually make the impact felt anywhere across the world. I mean, we're always a part of any story that's taking place across the world. For example, the latest is out of Hong Kong, where a TNT national entered Hong Kong via Korea and was found to be carrying on him $2.9 million worth of cocaine. And this was on August the 23rd. This information was actually released by the Hong Kong government on August 24th. And the individual was carrying 3.4 kilograms of cocaine, entered into Hong Kong. Well, good luck to him. Good luck to him. You're not, I don't think you'll ever see Trinidad and Tobago ever again.
Keaton, I was talking about individual excellence of our people, and your example there seems to be quite contrary to what I was mentioning, because there are a lot of...
The whole point is Trinbagonians making the impact felt.
I mean, he's excelling at what he does, except right at the end.
What?
Right at the end, you know, he's not a small fry. He didn't get caught with a little bit. He got caught with a lot. Maybe his ambition was way beyond his capabilities for that individual. But as you were mentioning, I just want to go back to the murder case as it was, and I do wonder to what extent do we take our police service for granted. As you said, they were at a murder scene and then had to come to this next murder scene, spend 5 hours. Lord only knows if they had another murder, the kind of work that they would have to undertake. Because we take it for granted. It's not as though police officers can just go off to deal with the murders and abandon everything else. They still have certain duties and functions that still need to be carried out while all of this extreme violence is happening and needs to be investigated, looked at, contained, etc., what have you. And again, I think the desensitized nature of our perception probably contributes to how we look at the TTPS, and we take it for granted. We will complain that they're corrupt when we're angered by whatever they might do that we disagree with. Yet we will call them and expect them to help us and to bail us out if we're in trouble because some criminal element is trying to interfere with us and our life and our property. It's an interesting phenomena of the individual psyche. And as you said, we're lazy. We only look to call on the TTPS and we want to believe in the best of them when we need them. When we don't need them, it's whatever. The politicians, whatever. As I said, the legacy projects. Really and truly, what are the benefits of them? The waterfront maybe, but really, did they live up to expectations?
I witnessed last night. You mentioned the perception towards the TTPS. Well, I witnessed last night. I don't know, maybe because they saw that the media was around or whatever it may be. Or maybe this was the norm. And I you know, this is why I always say that there are always three sides to the story. In the instance, it will be the individual side, the TTPS side, and then the truth. And that goes for almost any situation. The TTPS were absolutely professional in their services last night. They were very much respectful. I can't complain at all about anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because I had a media badge around me that, you know, fine, they had a certain level of respect for me, but I realized that it went for every single citizen or every individual near or around the crime scene. So the TTPS did well. I mean, the only issue that I would say is that they should have, you know, put up the caution tape sooner to preserve any form of evidence. Because you had police officers walking through the crime scene. Nobody else was allowed, but you had police officers walking through the crime scene. When CSI came, then they called off the air and then they started, you know, doing their investigation, only to realize that TTPS were walking through a path that actually contained evidence. So, to me, that's a huge flaw, that's a big flaw. But in relation to the officers, their decorum, how they, you know, carried out their duties, what they did, I can't say anything negative otherwise. What I did see are citizens actually disrespecting police officers, of citizens actually giving attitude and displaying a certain level of arrogance towards officers, as though there was no level of understanding or no level of care. I witnessed that a few times. Obviously, it wasn't everybody. But that showing, that just emphasizes the point that as much as you hear often in the media, because let's be fair, let's be honest, many a times the media only gives one side. The media only gives one side. The media doesn't often give both sides. The media doesn't often give the truth when it's supposed to actually be a reliable source of information. Well, I can tell you last night, the TTPS, in my eyes, at least I didn't see them doing anything wrong. I saw citizens actually getting on very arrogant in some instances.
ASP Ali spoke to me about something maybe similar. And it would be basically, say, you have a dispute with your neighbor or something happens, or somebody might have done something, you call the police on them. The police come, they assess the situation. They don't do what you want them to do. Because you call them and say, I called you to arrest this man. He trespassed, he whatever, he interfered with whatever. Right? Not to give him a warning, but it's not up to you. And what happens is then, what ASP Ali told me was, then they start to accuse the police of corruption, of favoritism, or some sort of bribery, or some sort of nepotism. Because there needs to be some nefarious reason why you didn't do what I called you to do. Because obviously I am right, and I call the police to address my wrongs, and the police are not addressing my wrongs, so there has to be something nefarious. Meanwhile, complex jobs, you don't know what the criteria is for how they do the things that they do. And I know this because when I worked in tourism, I was faced in situations where I knew the customer in front of me did not know all of the criteria of what it is I had to assess for whatever the situation was. And it's complex and it's difficult to explain, and sometimes it's hard to tell people, well, you know, you were really wrong. So if the police now have a complex situation, right, and there will be times when it's not that they're playing favorites, it's not that somebody passed money under the table, it's not that it's a friend of a friend who called in a favor, it's that when they assess the situation and how they react to certain things and deal with certain things, that's within the criteria, that's within the training, that's within the whatever. I mean, not all the time. There are bad apples. We understand that. There are multiple officers either under investigation or charged right now. I get it. But, just because it doesn't go your way, and that's the point that the ASP was trying to make. Just because it doesn't go certain people's way, they just want to throw allegations out there and start to sling mud. Sound familiar?
Well, if you're hearing some music in the background, that's just a Friday morning here in Trinidad and Tobago, so I apologize for that. I can't really help it. But, Sean, you cannot tell a Trinidadian that they're wrong. In fact, that could be the difference between your life up today and seeing tomorrow. You cannot tell any Trinidadian that they're wrong. Okay, for example, last night, the police officers told individuals, you cannot pass through here. It is a crime scene. Unfortunately, you're going to have to walk around. If you see the reaction of some individuals, as though they didn't care at all, they had no respect at all, and it was appalling. You cannot tell a Trinidadian that they're wrong, because that basically could tell you whether or not you're going to be breathing in the next hour or not. I mean, okay, hold on. Let me just use another example, because you mentioned customer service. You mentioned having to interact with customers and deal with customers. I understand that. But at a greater level, if we analyze things, you can't tell the Prime Minister that he's wrong. He will go for your jugular. You can't tell the opposition leader that she's wrong. She'll have her hounds and pit bulls around to go after you. So even in higher offices, you can't tell these individuals that they're wrong. What makes you think that an ordinary man on the streets is going to say, okay, you know what, maybe you have a point, I understand, I could have tried this better, could have done this better. No. Not everybody, but a lot of people in Trinidad now are very trigger happy. And if you just so much so look at them the wrong way, you don't even have to say, listen, you were wrong for doing that. You could just look at them the wrong way, right? Sean, this is the society that we're living in, and no matter what anybody tells you about serious crime has been down, or the TGPS has been doing this, or I as Minister of National Security has been doing this, or the opposition is going after this and ensuring, no matter what anybody says or tells me, I am not seeing anything being done on the ground at all. Nobody on the ground is seeing anything being done. We actually have not worked to resolving these issues, because quite frankly, it seems as though people above us have one thing going on in their head. I don't know, like they live in a different reality or a different situation or a different scenario. And we, Sean, well, I guess at the end of the day, this is why Talking Point will always have an episode, because nothing changes in TNT.
I'll get into more specifics with regards to political messaging after the next break. But just to add on to your point, an old acquaintance of mine, he said that his father stopped or reduced his road rage because things got too dangerous. You get vexed with somebody driving on your road, you don't know who has a gun. And he said his father was somebody who used to be someone that would have been more than willing to be combative and argumentative. And then eventually he figured out it's not worth it. Why? Because the other person might be even more willing to go even further. And I think the point that you made with regards to politicians, acting in the same manner as people who don't care about the crime scene. And yes, you might say, okay, on some level, no politician will admit to that or will do something so obviously wrong. I mean, it will be bad for their character. But to some extent, the defensiveness and entitlement, I think, overall, within our political class and even a lot of business leaders as well, it's there. And we think, oh yeah, they're business leaders, they're politicians, they're elected officials, they're supposed to be great people. And I do wonder to some extent, no, they're not. While we do, the people who achieve individual excellence, our sportsmen, our artists, the people who go abroad and make something of themselves of their own two hands, I do wonder if locally a lot of our business leaders and a lot of our politicians, it's not making something of themselves with their own two hands, you know. It's opportunity, circumstance, favors, and ambition. Not hard work, not honest work, not by the guts, blood, sweat, tears, toil, and own genius. Because the way how our society is going, you can't tell me that genius people are running it. Maybe smart men, as Mr. Awari wanted to point out last year, maybe smart men running the country. I don't know about geniuses.
Sean, you see that word you use there, entitlement? Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, where everybody's entitled to almost every single thing without any level of care, understanding, and just a selfish attitude. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, where teachers are apparently allowed and they see it right and fit to protest on the very first day of school. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, where apparently you can play loud music in the morning and get away with it without a care in the world for everybody else in society, because guess what? I'm a Trini and I'm entitled to do this. So this is where we have to take a commercial break, and I have to go have a talk with the people who are just being absolutely ridiculous by playing us loud music at this time in the morning. So we'll be right back after this.
Happy Independence from Motor Care and Maintenance MCM Limited for all your vehicle repairs, diesel and gas. Approved vehicle inspection station. Celebrate and enjoy life in your fully electric and hybrid Mini. Happy Independence TNT from LaFast Motors.
Nuance Security and Solar Systems Limited, ensuring value with renewable energy solutions for all.
We celebrate with TNT, Medical Associates Private Hospital, offering cutting-edge technology for all our customers' health issues.
You can become a highly trained emergency response professional that can operate in the health, corporate, industrial, and educational sectors. Tech EMS courses include EMT, AEMT, paramedic, BLS, ACLS, PALS, First Aid, CPR, AED, and other courses.
Register early for September 2022.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
What's your choice? Choice Optical. That's my choice.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados, School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
as the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
Register early for September 2022. The Guide family has been serving TNT for over 70 years. From the management and staff of JE Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium, Happy Independence. Independence greetings from J&A Supermarket and Deli on the Avenue for your grocery items, market items, grab-and-go meals, plus mobile phones and accessories.
Rise to the occasion with Cocky Lucky, exclusively sold at the Big Mike Wellness Center.
Number 19 Market Street in Aruka. Contact 346-26 or 338-7775.
Christmas is coming. The Retail Warehouse Christmas Village is back with great deals. So check us in-store or online today. When you need land, a home, or investment property, step-by-step property consultancy and management can help you. Happy Independence!
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, current events, we're enjoying independence, and I'm sure a lot of people might be enjoying the long weekend because, you know, when you have a holiday in the middle of the week, you're trying to take the days in between that day and the weekend for vacation. So, maybe a lot of people might be enjoying a long 5-day weekend, maybe. Last weekend of summer vacation for the kids. Yes, I know we're in the tropics, we don't have summer, blah, 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 blah. But with regards to current events, so something happened. We had, of course, the scrap iron situation. It is alleged, I don't know how true it is, that they blocked the highway with fire and sand. That's a whole unfortunate situation, and I think, ethically speaking, there are a lot of questions there. But I want to go to my favorite topic, and that is to say, after politicians, and that is to say, public sector unions. Because one union, the AWU, accepted the 4%, right? And I get it. And the other unions now, they had a big outcry, big betrayal. One of the things that I am very much tired of are both politicians and unions who make a lot of claims but don't really offer a lot of reasoning, details, evidence, factual, anything to support their arguments. It's bad and we're betrayed and all of these buzzwords to give an emotional response at the situation. Right? But really and truly, was it a bad betrayal? Why is it not justified for one union to say, you know what? For my members, if my members want it, if I think it's a good idea, I'll accept the 4%. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, 4% is bad. Because why? We were told 4% is bad. It's a small number. The current climate that we're in, do we really expect the government to just pull money out of who knows where to give large pay increases to the public sector right now? When everybody's under strain, and I'm sure there are a lot of non-public sector people who also want help. Where's the money going to come from? We have to be realistic. Keaton.
Well, hold on. Because, you know, I can't fault you for the argument that you made, because I made a similar argument that it's very difficult at this point in time for the government to fork out billions of dollars in back pay and, back pay is due, by the way. It's owed to these workers. Salary increase, we all want a salary increase. Trust me, we all do. But honestly speaking, I also understand and I empathize with the side of the unions because, you know, we've pointed this out. The economy has constantly changed. The economy is constantly evolving. And the thing is, evolution, you would hope that evolution would allow you to bring greater results and new prosperity and better opportunity. Well, quite frankly, that has not been the case. So people are struggling as prices continue to rise. I mean, we heard it from the Reverend yesterday on the show. People who are receiving a salary are struggling themselves. So I understand your point, but I also empathize with the side of the unions, because at the end of it all, Sean, I have seen government choose to allocate finances and spend money on things that are not necessary. I still am of the opinion that they say you can't put a price on patriotism. We have no money. We have no money to pave potholes in Trinidad, which could destroy your car, which could burst your tire, which is going to cost thousands of dollars. But we have $7.5 million to stand up in the sun and watch soldiers march. I mean, come on.
Well, no, I mean, I get it, but we went through this before. 7.5 million is not a lot of potholes in the grand scheme of things, and it's going to do nothing, literally nothing, with regards to the wages of public workers.
$7.5 million of less potholes than what we have now. And again, you're right. It's not going to very little in terms of the wages for workers, but it's just an example because you see government allocating money, and you wonder where is they thinking about the critical expenditure TNT.
But Keaton, going back to messaging, this is why when politicians use hyperbolic, emotional things, they're the worst things. I mean, look at, yes, the government does it too. The example that comes to mind is when the opposition says, the people are suffering under this PNM government. Don't mind the fact that, yes, you could complain about how they're managing the bad situation, but the bad situation is kind of out of their hands. But to go to that extreme language immediately, right? That cry wolf situation. So with the unions now, I mean, yes, I just have to say, yes, the PNM does it too, right? But the unions now, when they use terms like Judas, when they use terms like this is modern day slavery to accept such a lowball offer, and then they go straight to, well, who benefited from this, right? It's an act of betrayal. Who benefited from this? Was there some deal that we don't know about? That kind of language. It's not too dissimilar to what I was talking about with regards to the TTPS when members don't do what people want them to do. This union is not doing what the other unions want it to do, so they're speaking out. But while some of their claims I could appreciate, or I would want to appreciate, if they just stuck to the factual details and explain why it's bad. What are the consequences of accepting this lowball offer, right? It impacts their negotiating position, right? Does it really help the members of the AWU? Of course, on the flip side, the AWU should have very well rebut and say why they accepted the offer publicly. But when you go straight to Judas and betrayal and all of this cockamamie nonsense, Judas was Judas. Hitler is Hitler. I hate it when people use those terms because it's a cry wolf scenario. If we want to go to the extreme on everything, we're going to cause further tensions to build up in the country, and we will never get anything done. That's why the government has to do everything on a simple majority. Because we don't actually have bipartisan politics. We don't actually have proper collective bargaining anymore. We just have a combative relationship between whichever two sides of whatever the issue is, whether it's wage negotiation, whether it is parliamentary legislation.
Sean, a 4% increase in salary is going to amount to a couple $100, which, let's be honest, in this time is gold dust, right? A couple $100 is worth gold dust. Right? A couple $100 could, if you're wise enough, you could eat for 4 days with a couple $100 plus, 4 days plus. Some people make that last for the entire week, right? You think a government minister is going to accept a pay increase or a salary increase of a couple $100? And yes, bear in mind, we're talking about a few dozen government ministers as compared to thousands of government workers. The point of the entire day is that there seems to be no sense of thinking towards what's going to happen tomorrow. And right now the government has put the unions in a brilliant position because the government has basically stated that, listen, we're no longer negotiating. This is what we could afford, take it or leave it. That's what we saw with the Amalgamated Workers Union, quite frankly. But the unions aren't going to give up that easily. I mean, mind you, the union said they wanted this to be completed by the end of the year. But the Prime Minister is wrong for going and speaking on a public platform about wage negotiations. He's wrong for speaking on a political platform about what's taking place within the unions. He's wrong for some of his social media posts because he's not actually there at the table negotiating. That's the job of the CPO. With respect to legislation, the government passes simple majority legislation because, one, there are two things. One, you have a government that is not willing and open to any ideas or any level of constructive criticism. This is a government that is only concerned about themselves, is only concerned about what they can gain from every single piece of legislation that they write, and is only concerned with, they don't want anybody telling them what to do. They don't. So that's one aspect. The other side of it is at the same time, you have an opposition whose communication is completely off. You know, you're amazed to tell, I'm amazed that a couple weeks ago when I was speaking to Saddam Hussein, Member of Parliament for Baratara Sanwan, he was saying that the legislation as it relates to bail, they had so many amendments on it, so many suggested amendments, and in the end they said this doesn't make sense, we're not going to vote for it. So you can hear your side and basically say, okay, great, the opposition has a point, the government doesn't like to listen. But at the same time, the opposition could honestly be very petty sometimes, and they could truly, they know how to work not only against TNT but against themselves sometimes. So it's a two-sided story.
No, because look, both sides do it. Or more or less every political party that we probably could think of does it to some degree or another, right? The new kids on the block, they still have to prove or give their track record, set their precedent. Although some of the more established names, we know who they are. They have a bad precedent already set already, right? But my point is, we already have a society where people are entitled and proud and don't want to be disagreed with. And when you have this sort of language, and the Prime Minister was not wrong for communicating with the public, you know. What he is wrong to do is when he allows to do the same sort of thing on these platforms. You communicate to the public, not to throw your jabs at whoever it is, whether it's the unions or it's the opposition. You communicate with the public to update the public on important matters of state. And the negotiation for wage increases of public sector workers is an important matter of state. It affects their salaries, which affects their standard of living. It affects the state's available financial resources, which affects potentially all the other programs that could directly affect the standard of living of people who depend on whichever social program, grant, transfer, or subsidy or whatever, right? We already have to cut back on the fuel subsidy, right? And I get it, it's not popular, but these are the signs of the times that we're in. And managing the expectations of the people, you need to not fall for debate and talk like how the other side talks. And I've yet to see, there are a few politicians who kind of do it, but I've yet to see anybody have a proper strategy of not going for the bubble because the bubble is too damn popular, because the bubble riles up the base, because the bubble, it makes short-sighted people think that their politicians are strong and determined and whatever, when in reality, what you just said, not only do they work against themselves, they work against the country as well.
Sean, I am yet to see anybody put forward a good argument from either side. I'm yet to see, because put it this way, if you're saying that the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, they also need to work on their communications, I can simply say the same thing for Ansel Roger and Michael Amplia and many other union leaders. So, okay, fine, fair enough.
Well, that was my point.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. I'm criticizing the Prime Minister for basically his stance and his communication skills. I'm criticizing the opposition leader because she can't communicate. She has Kirk Mayhew doing that on her behalf. And I'm also saying that Ansel Roger and Michael Ansel need to do the same thing because they can't communicate at all. Their messaging is obviously skewed. In fact, they're the reasons why many times unions have not a very good reputation amongst the public. And very finally, Sean, you said the Prime Minister is allowed to get away with it. Who's going to tell him otherwise? Who's going to tell him otherwise?
The people, us, you and me, other people in the media, other people in the public.
And we do that all the time.
Other people in the public. His supporters need to understand that they need to be more constructive and criticize their party leadership.
John, the Prime Minister's supporters, you've seen it on his social media, encourage and like his style.
Well, yes. Yes.
So yes, we will continue to do it. Don't get me wrong, we will continue to. We will always give advice and say where you're wrong. But at the end of the day, the Prime Minister doesn't care. And guess what? If I don't take a break right now, my directors will tell me, Keaton, you don't care either. So guess what? We have to go for news on the hour. And when we return, pause on that, my friend. Apologies for having to cut you. But
no, I just wanted to say, look at the situation wage negotiation has reached. That's the bad outcomes of this sort of thing. Just one symptom. Let's go for a break to the news.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marky Sakers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Political leader speaks on bias of Tobago Carnival activities. Crown Point residents accuses government of politicizing airport project. Elderly man found dead in Aruka home. And internationally, 3 Canadian police charged in toddler shooting death. Now for the details. The political leader of the Unity of People, Nkosi Phillips, is claiming that the Progressive Democratic Patriots-led Tobago House of Assembly is rubbing shoulders with major carnival promoters whilst not incorporating smaller interest groups. She further slams the Secretary of Tourism, Tasha Burris, for what she claims as political bias and a personal bias, as Phillips is seeking approval for a cultural event which was rejected. Speaking with state media, Phillips emphasized the rejection by also noting that they are yet to receive a meeting with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and Minority Leader Kelvin Morris.
What is happening in Tobago, and a lot of people don't want to say, but I am just going to be straight out. There's a lot of rubbing shoulders going on. A lot of the production and the mass bands that have been going on and advertising is the ones that, they're rubbing shoulders and getting over there. I'm saying it plain. I don't hold back. And a lot of the mass bands who actually been there for years, who have good production to give the real carnival, they are with the program, because up to yesterday we had a little online meeting and they still want the event that I'm doing. I would have reached out to the Secretary of Tourism along with the Chief Sec and the Minority Leader with the proposal. And so far, I've got a shutdown from the Secretary of Tourism, and I find it was very disrespectful because it's the 3rd time I'm dropping a proposal to her, and she keeps on shutting down my proposal, and I know it's a political bias and also a bias on her point.
Residents in the Crown Point area, Tobago, are in close proximity of the proposed airport project, have been given second eviction letters to vacate the premises, allowing the government to begin work on the project. The residents, however, says the matter remains before the court and all operations should cease. This, however, is not being done, and the residents believe the matter is being politicized.
Whenever a matter is before the court, everything else ceases until a court ruling is given. But we can clearly see, based on the current operation, the state has proceeded with its operation regardless of the matter being before the court. So this shows to all of John public and the world that this is not a court matter. Although it is before the court, it is beyond the court, and the reality is this has become more of a political matter.
The body of an elderly man was found in his Bonnie Gardens, Aruka home. Reports say residents observed a foul stench coming from the home of the 79-year-old Randolph Collette and called the police. Officers, upon searching the premises, found the decomposing body of the man. There were no visible signs of an attack. An autopsy has been ordered to determine the cause of death. And internationally, 3 Canadian police officers have been charged in the shooting death of an 18-month-old child in November 2020. The charges were announced following a nearly 2-year investigation by Ontario Police Watchdog and the Special Investigation Unit. The boy, Jameson Shapiro, was killed when police shot at the truck driven by his father following a report of a parental abduction. The police union say they are fully supporting the 3 officers. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marky Sekas. Thanks for watching.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss enriched bread. Fill your day with love.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Talking Point. Of course, now is the time where we would like to hear from you, our viewers. I'm sure the professor would love to disagree with me with regards to unions. It's not their fault for successfully raking management over the coals. Management that I would like to point out somehow was a part of the union at WASA because his position was manager back when Mr. Duke was. Anyway, let's not get into that. The phone lines are open. I do believe we have a caller from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
This is why you are the perfect yin yang. Keaton, where are you now? You are home, Sean in studio. Okay, so...
That lady from Digger Martin really has a bias for you, Sean.
I know, well, you see, that's your favorite word, bias, so I try to, use it and incorporate it. But anyhow, today we're not being biased because we like to talk about white privilege. But over here, Keaton, you are correct. It's everyone because everyone is entitled. It's because, again, we're the land of the lawless, and you really cannot tell a Trini he's wrong, especially a man, even if he's doing gober. You think I could tell the 3 big men across the street, don't park your big ugly container truck on my side, and you're going to cause more traffic from Monday, and all the cars that you have to repair, or the CPAP people to not throw back the grass clippings on my side after they clean it. Man, they cuss up all my relatives dead and alive. And Sean, the road rage thing, my relative's pristine Audi was hit recently over the vacation by a man with his pants under his bottom, no license, and an old car. They said don't judge by appearances, but guess what? That's garbage, because he had to judge. He could not do the right thing and say to the man, let's go to the police. Because, yes, Keaton, he could have lost his life right there. So, yeah, 60 years. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
So the caller writer is a point, Sean. Yes, we criticize those in authority because they don't set an example, but Trinbagonians on the ground oftentimes don't help themselves either because the attitude and the mindset has not changed. It's gotten worse. We're no longer humble, sweet, Rainbow Nation, we have become a society that is so toxic, a society that is so arrogant and ignorant.
The irony is, Keaton, the irony is, individually, a lot of our people might still be sweet and generous and giving and all of the good things. But you're right, the amalgamation, we are not putting it all together. The sum of the 1.4 million parts or 1.399 million parts is not equating to what it should be, right? The society is less than the sum of the parts, because somehow when we come all together now and we try to do the right thing on that level of society, we kind of fail, we kind of bust, we kind of do business as usual. It's the same old. I wanted to say something, but can't say that on here. Don't want to get fined. But I'm sure a lot of people, appropriate language will come to mind. Phone lines open, folks. We have a caller from Port of Spain. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I see both of you are entombed in your homes. Sean, it's good to see you. Good to hear you. Let me say, folks, I couldn't resist not joining the discussion on the issue of the workers' compensation and the agreement with the amalgamated workers' trade union. It is pure. It is. How should I describe it? I sat across the table with the amalgamated workers' trade union, certainly when I served as the mayor of Port of Spain. And I always remember saying to the trade union, gentlemen, we have to eat little and live long. Where we are now does not allow for us to be offering the kind of compensation, nor does it allow for us to be doing the kind of things that we are doing, because it is not sustainable. I said, whatever we do has to provide a return on investment. I therefore want to congratulate the leadership of the Amalgamated Workers Trade Union for being brave enough to do what they have done and settling at the rates that they have settled. Not because it will bring them joy, because clearly it has not brought them joy at this time. Not because it will bring them fame. Not because it will bring them love. But because they're doing what is in the best interest of their workers in the context of the country as we go forward. Though there are those who are still holding out for 14%, and perhaps, if you remember, Duke got 14% from Kamala Prasad Bisesa while she was walking out the door on the last occasion. So that the reality is that this is something that is a kind of landmark for Trinidad and Tobago. And it isn't that we don't know what is going on. If you go to Massey stores, a little plantain chips pack that used to be $6 is now $10. The cost of goods and the goods in Neil and Massey has skyrocketed. What it means is that those who could set up a little shop and make less profit off of each line item, but make enough to continue to run the business and pay the bills and grow their families, must get into the business of food. We have to decentralize this thing from Neil and Massey having, as it were, a dominant role on the distribution of food. We have got to begin to see the marketplace on a Saturday as something that we should be seeing every day of the week. We have to find time to go and make our market every 3 days or every 2 days. We can't wait till one day, and so we get better prices. We simply have to eat little and live long. And so I want to congratulate the leadership of the Amalgamated Workers Trade Union for standing firm And bear in mind, the bulk of their employees are in the Port of Spain Corporation. So I'm not speaking about something that I don't know. I lived it for 39 months, and I understood the concerns of the trade union. But I also equally understood the needs versus the wants of the city. And I emphasized and instituted under my watch that we will treat with the needs of the city, not the wants of the city. So we only did things that mattered. We also tried to make money. We also tried to engage people to take the cemetery from us, our landmark cemetery, and turn it into a history book where people could walk and what have you. But these people, a lot of people in Trinidad talk, but when you give them the assignment, they fall short badly. I wouldn't call names. That having been said, gentlemen, I rest my case.
Thank you
but
very
again,
much, Caller.
Congratulations to the Amalgamated Workers Trading.
All right, thank you. We have a call on the line with us from Shigones. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
I heard this morning you were criticizing the press for being one-sided. I didn't know you was talking about yourself.
Yes, sometimes.
Because you're going back to your normal union bashing, and
I will
completely forget all the points I have made.
Wrong.
That the
Sometimes the
reason
press gets
government
wrong.
cannot pay is because they make no attempt to collect money. I have proven this to you on a number of occasions. And not only that, when some of them try to collect the money, like the case in WASA, government actually stopped them. Government gave themselves the biggest increase. Like the politicians, who didn't used to get any pay at all. They used to get an allowance before independence. That is one person who should celebrate independence. The only one I know. Right? So why it is we do not address the core of the problem, and because we do not collect revenue, because we have no administrative report, which estimates your expenditure and revenue, and we keep on bashing the poor man. Any answer to that, gentlemen?
Well, my one pushback, Professor, I don't think union leaders are poor. I would be very surprised if any of them are poor.
Not the leaders are talking about, they're talking about the workers.
Yeah, well, yeah, the workers are the workers. When I bash the unions, it's mainly the leaders. It's the leaders who lead their members.
You think they're less poor than the politician?
Listen, Professor. No. Professor, I understand the point that you're making, but you must listen. You must listen to. If you are asking us to listen to your arguments, you must also listen to our arguments very clearly.
Yeah, your arguments. Yeah, you mind repeating?
Hold on, Professor. Hold on a second, please. The point is, Sean is right. We do actually focus more so on the union leaders. And this morning, we weren't bashing the unions. We were bashing their communication. For example, you're right. It's amazing how the leaders are always the wealthier ones. For example, I could go into answer Roger and what he's involved in. I wouldn't do that right now. But yes, it's amazing how they're always involved and it's always benefiting them somehow, while it may not be the case with the workers. Their communication level is absolutely poor. So you must listen to the arguments before coming and criticizing. The other aspect
Professor, I conceded the point that the leaders, the other union leaders who were against AWU taking the 4%, there could be cons. There could be practical cons, practical consequences that are negative for everybody. But they didn't really focus that as the main point of their argument. Their argument was that the AWU were Judas.
No, I accept that. All I'm saying, the bottom line is government don't have money because they make no attempt to raise it.
Professor, I know you said that a lot, and yes, with regards to collecting that revenue, I concede that you are correct. There's revenue on the table that is failed to be correct. I don't think that revenue will equal. I don't think the revenue that they don't collect from taxes, water rates, etc., will equal the deficit of the budget. equal to the demands that we have right now.
All right, Professor, also, I just want to tell you, you are right. I did say that journalists do get it wrong, and at times journalists are not completely truthful. I wouldn't go against that. There have been times on this program when I've been wrong, and there have been callers who have had to correct me.
Same with me.
The course had to correct me.
I have been wrong too. Nothing wrong with being wrong. You not keep repeating it.
But the ability to actually recognize and realize where you're wrong, when you're wrong, and accept that you could be corrected. You see, sir,
that's a major topic for this morning.
Yeah.
Keaton.
But thank you very much, Professor. Have a great, I know you have a great weekend. So hopefully TSTT, is not so unfair to you again this weekend. Anyway, so yes, so that's the entire thing about it. Yes, we have another call on the line with us actually from Claxton Bay.
Morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, morning.
Yeah.
Morning, Chief.
Welcome back, Small.
Thank you.
Yeah. To Keaton boy, if we missed a great opportunity from 1962. You see, if we had some Indian people like you, Keaton, from 1962 up to this day, who tried hard to be independent, we would have been a real model nation, because Dr. Ike Williams made it plain. It could be no mother India, no mother Africa. He said the future is in your book bag. And your children of the day who go into school, teach your parents. We will not have these parents who bent on race and continue to teach the generation that race and going on up to this time. We would have been in a better place today. So there is no doubt Indian people, why they had done good, they also had done a lot bad by keeping us from going forward, because of this race and religion. If we had that out of the way, if you have your religion, like whether it's a Muslim or Hindu, and you go to church and you serve that, no problem. But when we come to deal with the issues of the country, we must be able to see what will take us forward. And that is what we want. We want to go forward, not backward. You understand? And this is my point. Let me try. If we could get some more Indian people like you, Keaton, on board today, because it's not too late. If they could start coming out independently, we will be in a better place in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. So we respond to all our calls, Port Spinch Gunners and Claxton Bay. We have to take a commercial break right now. We'll be right back after this.
Happy Independence from Motor Care and Maintenance MCM Limited for all your vehicle repairs, diesel and gas. Approved vehicle inspection station. Celebrate and enjoy life in your fully electric and hybrid Mini. Happy Independence TNT from LaFast Motors.
Nuance Security and Solar Systems Limited, ensuring value with renewable energy solutions for all.
We celebrate with TNT, Medical Associates Private Hospital, offering cutting-edge technology for all our customers' health issues.
You can become a highly trained emergency response professional that can operate in the health, corporate, industrial, and educational sectors. Tech EMS courses include EMT, AEMT, paramedic, BLS, ACLS, PALS, first aid, CPR, AED, and other courses.
Register early for September 2022.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
What's your choice? Choice Optical. That's my choice.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
As the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
Register early for September 2022. The Guide family has been serving TNT for over 70 years. From the management and staff of JE Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium, happy independence. Independence greetings from J&A Supermarket and Deli on the Avenue. For your grocery items, market items, grab-and-go meals, plus mobile phones and accessories.
Rise to the occasion with Cocky Lucky, exclusively sold at the Big Mike Wellness Center.
Number 19 Market Street in Aruka. Contact 346 26 or 338 7775.
Christmas is coming. The Retail Warehouse Christmas Village is back with great deals. So check us in-store or online today. When you need land, a home, or investment property, step-by-step property consultancy and management can help you. Happy Independence.
Welcome back to Talking Point. First of all, over the commercial break, we had a call from our good lady friend from Diego Martin. Listen, you don't have to worry about anything, and it's all in good joke, so no stress at all, don't worry. But I want to just address the last call from Claxton because we don't have much time left this morning. Caller, you made a very good point, and thank you very much. I feel, very, I'm glad that some people have some confidence in me. But it's a bigger issue that you mentioned. There's, as much as we speak about racism in France, Afro-Trinidadian versus Indo-Trinidadian, it's a topic that I've always explored, and I don't think we should be fearful of addressing. You see, Indian versus Indian racism is a serious thing. A simple thing like if your name is Mirage, but you know how Mirage could be spelled multiple ways? If it's spelled one way, you're an elitist. If it's spelled the other way, you're not a real Mirage. It's a serious thing. Religion in Trinidad and Tobago amongst Indian people as well is a very serious thing. But at the same time, if I have to be fair, Afro-Trinidadian versus Afro-Trinidadian racism and crime is a huge thing as well. So, quite frankly, yes, both sides clash with each other, but within each other's circles as well. We have a lot of work to get done, people. A lot.
I think, and while it's apples to oranges comparison, when you look around the world and how these issues are being used and exploited, and historically how they have been potentially used and exploited, I feel as though there comes a point where the race talk is not really the underlying problem. It's just a symptom being taken advantage of by people who want to propagate division to advance their own agenda. Right? Of course, that now goes into the realm of big conspiracy talk, and I don't necessarily want to make it sound like I'm too far off the rails, but there is some unfortunate truth to that, because that is a recurring lesson in history for the last, I don't know, however many hundreds of years, or at least the last 100 years. At least the last 100 years.
Certainly. Well, as it's Friday and month has passed us by, I really hope, friends, that after 60 years we've actually learned something, and more so we can celebrate as a nation. But I hope we've learned something about ourselves. As we conclude this show, I want to thank my co-host Sean. He's with us again, and he's been very, very good. He's been working very hard behind his bedroom door, quite frankly. He's been working from his room and doing everything as best as he can. So kudos to you, because I know it's not easy, especially when you're so down and out. But also very much thanks to our colleagues in WESN, those in the director's box this morning, Master Control, who worked really hard to make the show happen. And to our head of news, Denise Sinclair, as well as Marky Zakers, thank you very much to the team for always being there and for always making it work.
And folks, as much as we hope for it to be over, the last 2 days, 9 deaths from COVID, even worse, potentially, Keaton showed me an article where there might be another virus from Argentina, or who knows from which part of the world, but discovered in Argentina right now. So please, if you're traveling internationally, be careful, and in society, take whatever precautions you feel necessary, please.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to all our callers. And folks, as ironic as it may be, remember, today is a good day to have a good day and a great weekend ahead. Listen, enjoy it, because from next week, Monday, oh God. Anyway, folks, have a good
next
one.
Monday, early, folks, early. Wake up earlier.
We'll see you next week, Monday. I had to wake up really early for that. Goodbye, folks. Bye-bye.